Deadlines, deadlines, deadlines. The deadline for Volume 12 is why we got such an interesting Chapter 66 for Made in Abyss. Looking back at everything that came out post Ilblue, it's taken a little under 2 years to get everything for this transitional arc. It seems like there's a yearly deadline at the end of every July, starting from Volume 6. Even though the number of chapters have decreased per volume since the anime, the benefit of a volume length or a volume read is that the volume for the most part fits a certain amount of pages, so it's not really accurate to just go off of the chapter count. The last 2 volumes consist of 3 chapters each. So how come we didn't feel that tightness with volume 11 that we felt with this volume? That's because the Cravali short story, which led to the weird ongoing numbering of 63.1 and 63.2, as point 1 came out with the side story or with the half chapter of volume 11. To our knowledge, the side story that is used to fill the total number of pages for volume 12 is just considered a part of chapter 66, with the return of my favorite in the series, Ozen. The thumbnail for this video is done by the amazing Pooty Spaghetti. I'm sure if you are someone who looks up chapter reviews for Made in Abyss, you have come across their videos before, but if you haven't, their channel is in the description down below. Thank you for the amazing submission. This final chapter of the transition between Ilblue and Layer 6 to the Maelstrom of Layer 7 took a while to come to fruition, with the amount of setup that Akihito wanted to do, especially with the bombshell after bombshell of lore that he dropped on us from the Hariyomari collection, which he introduced long ago. In a kind of way how Orth fantasizes the expeditions of White Whistles with Liza's death at the beginning of the series, to the time dilation of the Abyss itself getting an extreme focus from chapter 60 onwards. I still think about the masterful execution of the progression of time with Cravali and Tempesti into Hail Hex with chapter 63. On seeing both sides of that interaction, at least months of time between them, Rico Squad is at the cusp of all these changes in the Abyss as we reach the 2,000-year cycle, which my pet theory results in another layer added to the Abyss itself. There is no substantial evidence for why I think this, it's more of a gut feeling. It may or may not come through, but let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with that. An unknown White Whistle makes moves while Ozen is strategically out of the second layer, while Hail Hex goes for their last dive, especially since Surejo is a self-proclaimed coward. Even though Rico doesn't seem all that concerned with what others are doing, her actions are completely tied to the world-changing event that is coming. It's also interesting to note, especially for those who don't read the English releases of the volumes when they do come out, since if you're watching this, I mean, there's only one way to read it right now, and it's not the volume. There are some important changes at official volume 11, which at least this past month adds many different interpretations to the events of the story for this arc itself. I love the Narahate group and I wait for their translation, but it's also just one interpretation of the dialogue. I noticed that the maiden shrine that was used earlier was switched to priestess in chapter 65 to be more in line with the moniker the official volume 11 gives to this mysterious group that Tempesti is affiliated with. Of course, there are some panel changes with volume 11, but they're pretty minor compared to the dialogue. The pivotal ring is now the Ring of Essence. Donnie's line got changed from someone related to Reg to someone with a connection to Reg, and the word accumulation is used way more as a substitute for building up. Tempesti and Rico both call Cravali Old Timer, which kind of connects those sections of the story together a little tighter, and Nishimori's question about souls is plural, while it's singular in the fan translation. Surejo also commends Rico as a White Whistle of fortitude, and the self-proclaimed cowardice is emphasized in the official translation as well. And the final change of the Netherworld locks instead of abysmal twists. Now, I'm not going to dictate which translations are better, that's for you to decide, but for me, essentially everything is great, except for the nerfing of such a raw name of abysmal twists. All the other changes have significant interpretation differences for both the lines themselves and future events from volume 12 and onwards that are based on these lines of dialogue. Remember that every video or theory or analysis that is attached to a specific chapter or volume is timestamped to that particular moment in time in the fandom, or timeline of the series itself, so be mindful to update your thoughts as new information, or I guess new translations in this case, arises. Even the volume 12 extras seem to have additional interpretations to the Hariyomori lines that are given in chapter 66, and the entire nature of these fairy tales, which are telephone interpreted to an extreme that it seems unreliable almost. So, be careful of what you read and how you read it. It's been about 2 years since I last talked about Made in Abyss, with chapter 58 in 2021, and plenty of others have come to fill in the space. I was super happy to see my video was linked as a reference for Puti's video, because even with the hundreds of videos that I've made on this channel, my Faputa one is one that I'm most proud of for a concept, so thank you. Whether Akihito was rushed and that was the change in art style that's so starkly different from what I remember in this chapter, or a change for something to come with the layers, I'll be waiting patiently for his next chapter no matter what. This is not a hour-long video. Hell, it's not even a 20-minute video, and there are zero chances that you might get another one out of me this year, but you're welcome to subscribe if you liked it. More importantly, subscribe to these people who have been way more regular with Made in Abyss than I have. If enough accumulation builds up, maybe you'll see me again. Dahayo.